What's going on, guys? Super Insane 18 here, and life has been absolutely kicking my ass lately, which is why this video is as delayed as it is, but that's not going to stop me from bringing it to you guys. So today we are talking about 6 must-know Fire King combos for the upcoming January 2024 format. Now, I do want to preface this video with the fact that these combos are not all obtainable in the 2 deck lists that I have brought you guys. There are some cards and some combos that will be utilized in this because I think that they are very important for a knowledge standpoint, but they are not necessarily from those deck profiles, so just keep that in mind while we show you guys some of these. But the first combo is going to be the bread and butter 1-card Ponic Combo, so let's show you guys how it works. You start things off by normal summoning out your Fire King Ponic, which of course is going to activate its effect, allowing you to add your copy of Fire King Sanctuary from your deck to your hand. Here you will go ahead and activate the Fire King Sanctuary, which will then activate its effect to activate Fire King Island directly from your deck. And now we can use the Fire King Island to pop the Ponics and search, and that is of course going to search us for our Garunix. Now Garunix is able to summon because a fire monster was destroyed, so we're going to go ahead and special summon out the Garunix and activate its effect on summon to destroy a fire from our deck, and that is of course going to be our Barong. And that is actually going to be the end of the turn, so you do have 4 other cards left in your hand, whether they be hand traps or other extenders that might be able to make a bit of a better end board, but this end board is still nothing to sleep on, because now if we pass it over to our opponent's turn, we're going to be able to activate both the Ponics and the Barong. So Ponics is going to go ahead and add itself back to our hand because it was destroyed off the Fire King Island, and that is of course also going to then have Barong search us for the High Avatar Kirin. Now, this is an interesting position because what this allows us to do is quick effect on our opponent's turn. We can summon the Kirin by popping our Ponics, and then when they special summon, we'll be able to use the Fire King Sanctuary to overlay both the Garunix and the Kirin into our into our copy of the Garunix Eternity. Now this is going to act as a dark hole on summon, as well as additional follow-up if they end up destroying it. Not to mention, you do get your Ponics back on the next standby because it was destroyed off the Kirin as well, meaning you can normal summon it and just continue to get the ball rolling from there. Now for combo number 2, it is going to be a 1.5 card combo utilizing Wanted and any discard. Now obviously, because the Wanted engine searches a level 1 fire, you could obviously just go ahead and search your Ponics and just continue with the first combo that we did, but I want to show you guys something a little bit spicier, so let's get into it. We're going to start things off by activating the Wanted, and that is of course going to add our copy of Diabellstar, and this is why it is a 1.5 card combo, because Diabellstar does require you to have a discard. So we're going to go ahead and summon out the Diabellstar, discarding whatever our discard is, and that is of course going to activate its effect to set our copy of original Sinful Spoils from our deck to our side of the field. Here we'll activate the original Sinful Spoils, sending the Diabellstar as cost, and this is going to then summon out our copy of Snake Eye Ash. Now Snake Eye Ash on summon will be able to search us for a level 1 fire, which is of course going to be our Ponics. Here we can go ahead and normal summon out the Ponics and do things very similar to what we did in the first combo. Ponics is going to go ahead and search our Sanctuary. Activating the Sanctuary is going to go ahead and activate our Fire King Island, and then the Fire King Island is going to pop the Ponics, which is then of course going to add our Garunix. Garunix will be able to summon itself out and destroy a card from the deck. Here we're going to go ahead and destroy the Barong, and that will then be useful for our opponent's standby. Now you might think that this is where it ends, but we are going to do something that might seem a little strange. We're going to use the Snake Eye Ash's other effect and actually send itself and the Sanctuary. Now you might think getting rid of the Sanctuary is a pretty big deal, but when you see the end board you might disagree. We're going to go ahead and use the Snake Eye Ash, sending itself and the Sanctuary, to summon out our copy of Snake Eye's Flamebird Dragon. Now Flamebird Dragon has a really cool effect that when it is sent to the graveyard from your hand or field, you can reborn 2 level 1 fires. So we're going to go ahead and take the Garunix and the Flamberge, and that is going to go into our copy of Sunlight Wolf. This will then activate the effect of the Flamberge, targeting the Ash and the Ponics to resummon themselves, which is then of course going to use the Sunlight Wolf to add us back our Flamberge. Now the reason we want that is going to be for what we are able to do on our opponent's turn. But now here what we are going to do is we're going to go ahead and link off the Ponics and the Ash into a copy of IP Masquerena, and we will pass our turn here. Now, everything from this point on is interactions that will happen on our opponent's turn. I always feel the need to preface that because people don't really understand in my comment section when I say you can do these things. They're like, oh, you can't do that on that turn, blah, blah, blah. No, from here on out, everything is happening on the opponent's turn. So we are going to start things off by on our opponent's standby phase. Of course, we will resolve the Barong, and that is going to allow us to add the Kieran. Now, the reason the Kieran is important is because, remember, the Flamberge gets its effective sent from hand as well. So during our opponent's turn now, we can use the Kieran at any point to summon itself out by destroying the Flamberge, and that is of course going to allow us to summon out a couple of things. So first we'll use the Flamberge as Chainlink 1, the Garunix as Chainlink 2. So Garunix is going to go ahead and summon itself out. The Flamberge is going to summon out the Ponix and the Ash, and this is going to activate a pretty hefty Chainlink. So now we can go Chainlink 1 Ponix to search, Chainlink 2 Snake Eye to search, Chainlink 3 Garunix to dump, and Chainlink 4 IP Masquerena. Here we are going to make a 4 material Appaloosa. So we're going to go ahead and summon out the Appaloosa. Now we have 4 monster negates. We're going to resolve all of our searches and our destruction, and that is then going to send the High King Arvada, which Arvada will then activate, not High King, but Fire King Arvada, and that will allow us to reborn the Barong from the graveyard and destroy it during the next turn, during the end phase, and then we'll get the search off of this in our standby, and we already have quite a bit of cards to pop off with. Again, we also still have 3 cards left in our hand. And we also actually don't forget the Sunlight Wolf. Sunlight Wolf is going to be able to add back the Flamberge as well, meaning that our hand is 6 cards with a good amount of follow-up. We get an additional search and 4 monster negates as well. For combo number 3, I want to show you how you can utilize Wanted and Tanky as a way to gain advantage off of the Wanted engine without needing a additional discard, because the Tanky is essentially going to serve that purpose. Now, we always want to play it smart and correct, so we are going to activate the Wanted in our draw phase, just to make sure that we are playing around roll. That is, of course, going to add our copy of Black Witch, and we can now proceed to the main phase, in which we will activate out our Tanky, which will of course search us our Arvada. Now Arvada we can go ahead and normal summon, and if we have any additional fire monsters in hand, this acts as a monster negate, so we are no longer really worried about hand traps. But now we can go ahead and summon out the Black Witch by sending the Tanky, because we no longer have a use for it. This is of course going to activate the effect of Black Witch to allow us to set our original Sinful Spoils, which we can immediately activate, getting rid of the Black Witch to summon out our copy of Ponix. Here on summon, the Ponix is going to activate, doing the exact same thing we've been doing so far, getting us our Sanctuary. Activating the Sanctuary is going to get us our Fire King Island, and before we use the Fire King Island effect here, we're actually going to link the Ponix off into a copy of Linkuriboh. Now this is important because we're actually going to get rid of the Arvada and reborn the Ponix. As you're going to see here, we'll use the effect of Fire King Island, popping the Arvada. This is going to allow us to add our Garunix. Now, it doesn't really matter what chain link we do it, but we're going to chain both the Arvada and the Garunix. So we'll go ahead and summon out the Garunix, and Arvada is going to reborn out our Ponix. And now in a new chain, the Garunix is going to activate, being able to destroy a Kieran from our deck, and that will then activate the Kieran to resummon out the Arvada. Next, we can use the Linkuriboh and the Garunix. We're going to go ahead and link those off, and that is going to go into a Little Knight. If you want, you can go into an IP Masquerena. That way you can quick make the Little Knight for an additional interruption, but this might just be a little bit safer, so you got to kind of weigh your pros and cons there. And then we will proceed to end phase, in which the Ponix will be destroyed because it was reborn off the Arvada. Now, everything from this point on is happening on the opponent's turn. During the standby phase, the Ponix is going to add itself back to hand since it was destroyed, and now we get quite a bit of interruptions from this point on. What's going to happen here is when the Arvada inevitably negates a monster effect that your opponent has, it will destroy the Ponix in your hand, which is of course going to activate our copy of Garunix in our graveyard to summon itself. When the Garunix is summoned, what we are going to do is use its effect to then pop a Kieran from our deck, and then Kieran will activate, and you can resummon out the Ponix. Now don't forget that Kieran has an additional optional part of that effect, where when you resummon one of your Fire Kings, you can pop a card on the field. Now you can pop one your opponent controls, or what you can do is pop the Arvada here. Now the Arvada is going to get popped, and now we'll have the Chainlink Ponix and the Chainlink Arvada. Arvada can go ahead and reborn out our Kieran. Ponix is going to go ahead and search for our Skyburn or whatever other card you might want, and then that also leaves us the ability to use the Sanctuary to turn the Avatar Kieran and the Garunix into our copy of the Garunix Xyz for an additional board wipe as well. Likely the SP won't be on the field, meaning that you'll get this back in the end phase as well. The Ponics will add back, and you just pretty much have infinite follow-up from that point on. For the second half of today's video, we are going to be moving over to the Tri-Brigade combos, because Tri-Brigade actually adds a massive ceiling to this deck's potential. So we're going to show you a 2.5 card combo. Technically, it's just Ponics, any of the Tri-Beast types, and whatever you want as a discard, because it's going to go back to the bottom of your deck. So let's show you guys how it works here. We're going to go ahead and start things off by normal summoning out our Ponics, and this is going to pretty much enable the exact same thing we've been doing. We're going to go ahead and add the Sanctuary, activate the Sanctuary. We're going to go ahead and activate the Fire King Island from deck, and the Fire King Island is going to pop the Ponics to search our Garunix. Now this is where things get a little spicy. The Garunix is able to destroy any fire from your deck, so we're going to use the Garunix to summon itself and activate the effect, sending or destroying rather specifically the Tri-Brigade kit. This will activate Kit's Graveyard effect to then Foolish Burial any of the Tri-Brigades, which is going to be Nerval. We will then take the Nerval and we will use it to add our copy of Karis, and I'm sure now you can see why we needed the other Tri-Beast type. We're going to go ahead and special summon out the Karis by discarding our Tri-Beast. I'm just using the Rangbali because it doesn't do anything, but like you can use any of the Tri-Beast types. And now that we have the Karis on the field, we can go ahead and use its effect, banishing the Kit and Nerval. This is going to summon out our copy of Bearbrum. Now, Bearbrum will be able to search our Revolt when we link it away, so that is exactly what we are going to do. We're going to go ahead and link the Bearbrum, the Karis, and the Garunix into a 3 material Appaloosa. This is then going to use the Bearbrum effect. We will go ahead and add our copy of Revolt, which is why we needed the discard, because now we have to put a card back on the bottom of our deck. We can set this and go ahead and pass our turn. Now, this is actually a lot more than you think it would be. During our opponent's standby phase, obviously we are going to add the Ponics back to our hand, but not just that. When we activate the Revolt, which is of course going to summon out our copy of Shureg, that is not only going to allow us for an additional banish on top of our 3 monster negates, but because these will be the ones that we were able to Reborn to link away, we'll be able to use both of their effects as well. So Nerval can search you something like a Fractal, and again, you just pretty much get infinite disruption, not to mention the fact of when they out this, if you still have any of your monsters banished, you will be getting an additional search as well. Combo 4 is going to show you a very similar route, but what if that other Tri-Beast was specifically the Tri-Brigade kit? That allows us to do a little bit of extra fancy stuff, and we're going to show you guys now. So we're going to start off with normal summoning out our Ponics, and this is just going to do the exact same thing it always does. Ponics is going to get our Sanctuary, Sanctuary is going to get our Island, but here is where it differs. The Island is actually going to destroy our kit because we already have it in rotation, and that is going to search us our copy of Garunix. Here we can go Kit Chainlink 1, Garunix Chainlink 2. Garunix is going to summon, and Kit is going to send our Nerval. Now in a new chain, the Garunix and Nerval are going to activate. The Garunix is going to go ahead and destroy the Barong, and the Nerval is going to go ahead and add us our copy of Fractal. Here we're going to take the Garunix and the Ponics. We're going to go ahead and link those off into our copy of Ferrijit, which we can then activate Ferrijit's effect to special summon our Fractal from our hand. Fractal is going to be able to use its on-field effect, banishing both the Kit and the Nerval, to go into our copy of Bearbrum, and now we can use all 3 of these monsters to go ahead and link off into a 3 material Appaloosa once again. Now, if you want to change some of the cards in your hand, you can always use the Ferrijit effect as well, but for the combo sake, we're only going to show you the Bearbrum. So here we will activate the Bearbrum, which is of course going to search our Revolt, and we will put our 1 card back on the bottom of our deck. And now we are not only in the same scenario as we were with the last combo, but we are a little bit better off because we actually have the ability to use the Sanctuary to go ahead and summon out the Xyz Garunix because of how much advantage we have. We're going to be able to, on our opponent's turn, search off the Barong, which is of course going to get the Kirin. Kirin's going to be able to destroy things, which is of course going to summon the Garunix. We have our 2 level 8, so not only do we get 3 negates and a banish, but we have a board wipe as well, with additional follow-up from our things getting destroyed, allowing us to pretty much get the game on turn 3. Now, I realize that might not be clear what the Kirin exactly is destroying, so I do just want to preface it with, you would be forced to use your Revolt first, because Revolt is going to be able to summon back the Nerval and link it off, which will then activate the Nerval effect to search, and as long as you search either the Kit or the Fractal, one of the fire Tri-Brigade monsters, that is the fire that Kieran will need in order to be able to summon itself when it destroys. And for the final combo of today's video, it is a doozy. While technically a 2-card combo, it does require the other 3 cards in your hand to essentially be free discard fodder. So we are going to show you guys how it works here, and it is going to be specifically Fractal with any Tri-Beast. Again, just using Rangbali because it doesn't do anything. So let's show you guys how that actually works. We're going to start things off using the Fractals effect to discard it and send the kit from our deck to our graveyard. The kit will then activate, which is of course going to send the Nerval, and the Nerval is then going to activate to of course search us our Karis. Here we're going to use the Karis special summoning itself out by discarding our Tri-Beast, and then we can use the Karis effect. We have 4 in our grave, so we will banish all 4, which is of course going to summon out our Shureg. Now, Shureg is not going to activate its effect to banish here because we don't have any cards that we want to banish. We only went into the Shureg so that we can link it off, because when it goes to the graveyard, we'll be able to get a search since we have some banished cards. We're going to go ahead and use the 2 on field to link into our copy of Bearbrum, which is of course then going to allow the Shureg to activate, searching us for a level 4 or lower, and you guessed it, we are going for our Ponics. Here we will normal summon out our Ponics and activate its effect, getting our Sanctuary. We will activate our Sanctuary, getting its effect to activate our Island, and now before we use the Island, we are actually going to use the on-field effect of Bearbrum, discarding 2 cards, which is why we need so many cards that are just essentially blanks. This is going to allow us to summon one of our banished. Here we are going to summon back out our copy of Kit. Now what we can do is we can use the effect of Kit, and zoning is very important because we want to make sure that we have the link zones open, but Kit is going to be able to banish the Shureg and the Karis in our graveyard, and that is of course going to summon out our copy of Friedrich. Now what we can do here is we can continue on with our plays. We're going to go ahead and use the Fire King Island, popping off the Ponics to then go ahead and summon out our Garunix, or add our Garunix, which will then summon itself. The Garunix is going to activate and destroy the Barong, and now what we do is we go ahead and we take the Garunix and the Kit. We will link those off into a IP Masquerena. Now you might be thinking that we are locked off of the effect of Bearbrum. We are not. The effect that locks you into Beast Warrior Wing Beasts is the Graveyard effect to search the Revolt, which we haven't done yet, so we are free to make this IP Masquerena. We can then go ahead and take the Friedrich and the Bearbrum, link those off into a 2-material Appaloosa, and that will activate the effect of Bearbrum to go ahead and search our Revolt, putting our last card back on the bottom of the deck. And now we have quite a few interruptions for our opponent. We're going to go ahead, set the Revolt, and pass our turn. Now, the interruptions that we have are very, very potent. We are going to be able to add back the Ponics to our hand. The Barong is, of course, going to be able to add us back our Kieran from our deck, and that's going to mean that we not only have the Appaloosa live, we are going to be able to Masquerena probably into an SP. We are going to be able to Revolt into our second copy of Shureg, which will be a banish. When we do that, then the Nerval that we resummon will get us an additional search, and of course when we destroy something off of Kieran, the Garunix will be able to summon from our graveyard, which will then be able to pop another card, getting us additional advantage as well. Not to mention, because we still have the Sanctuary, we can also overlay the Garunix and Kieran into the Xyz Garunix for a board wipe if they are still able to play through all of that. And there you guys have it. That is going to be 6 must-know Fire King combos for the upcoming January 2024 format. Thankfully, this was not touched by the ban list. It's definitely too new to be doing that, so it is a very strong meta contender for the upcoming format. As always, if you liked it, you know the deal. Make sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell, like, comment, share with your friends. Don't forget to check out the channel sponsor Dueling Guard. Using code Insane18, you can get 5% off your entire order, and we do have some more sponsors as well, so check the description down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you in the next one.